Because of who I am, I see the world a certain way. Right? I have a certain set of ideologies and beliefs. That's why for some, a cow is leather. For others, it's a deity. For some, it's dinner. Which one is it? It's all those things, depending on who you are and how you see the world. For some, a rug is decor. For others, it's a souvenir. And for some, it's a place of worship. Which one is it? It's all those things, depending on who you are and how you see the world. That's why if a black cat crosses your path in the United States, we say it's bad luck. In Japan, it's considered good luck. It's both of these things, right? The world is not objective, it's subjective.
Welcome to Mitlin Money Mindset, your weekly dose of inspiration and insights to ensure you enjoy each step of your journey. Whether you're saving for the future, planning your next big adventure, or simply looking to add more joy to your life, you've come to the right place. Now, let's dive in.
I'm Larry Sprung, your host for the Mitlin Money Mindset and founder and wealth advisor of Mitlin Financial. Today's guest is Dr. Marcus Collins, award-winning marketer and cultural translator. Dr. Marcus Collins is a master at understanding and navigating the intersection of culture and business. With a career marked by numerous accolades and groundbreaking campaigns, Marcus has helped some of the world's most iconic brands connect with audiences in authentic and meaningful ways. His ability to translate cultural nuances into impactful marketing strategies has earned him a reputation as one of the world's most insightful and creative minds in the field. In addition to his work in marketing, Marcus is a respected academic, speaker, and author who shares his expertise with the next generation of marketers and business leaders. His thought leadership extends beyond the boardroom as he continues to shape conversations around how brands can better understand and engage with the cultural forces that influence consumer behavior. Join us as we delve into Dr. Marcus Collins's fascinating career, explore his insights on the power of culture in marketing, and learn how his innovative strategies can help you connect with your audience and drive success. Well, I have the pleasure today of being with Dr. Marcus Collins, award winning marketer and cultural translator. And I am so excited for this conversation. Welcome to the show, Marcus.
Thanks for having me here. I'm really stoked to be here.
Yeah, well, it's great to have you here. And one of the things that we always start out with, because and selfishly, it's because of me. I am personally fascinated by the entrepreneurial journey because I think they're so different, and we'll spend a lot of time on what you're doing today and where your focus is today. But could you give our listeners a little bit of an idea of what Marcus's entrepreneurial journey was? What brought you to where you are today as an award-winning marketer and cultural translator?
I liken a lot of it to serendipity. I studied engineering undergrad because I thought that's what you're supposed to do when you do well in math and science and you're from Detroit and you're black. You go into engineering. That's what you do. And I did that. And early on into my college career, I realized it wasn't the right fit for me. And even though I told my parents that is the case, I ended up staying in engineering because my parents didn't care. So after my years at the University of Michigan studying materials engineering, I went into the music industry, which is where I really wanted to be. And that was my first sort of bite at the entrepreneurial apple, writing and producing music. And we had some successes, but nothing sustainable. So I decided to go back to school to get my MBA to study business, to understand business, what makes it tick, particularly how do disruption happen like the music industry was experiencing through digital. So I started to work in corporate America. I worked at Apple doing partner marketing for iTunes, ended up running digital strategy for Beyoncé, which was an entrepreneurial effort for Beyonce and her father. But me, I was sort of just one of the people making their dreams come to life. Ended up working for a gentleman named Steve Stout, who again another entrepreneur who had a very clear vision of the world, and the organization was meant to help that vision come to life. And as I worked with brands, big and small, global and regional, along the way, what I realized is that when you're working, you are helping someone else's vision of the world become manifest. And in doing so, I was developing my own vision of the world, my own point of view of the world, and found myself wanting more and more for the world to be a reflection of that. And I suppose my entrepreneurial pursuits were fueled by that. So now I'm professor at the University of Michigan, and as a scholar. On another side, I have a foot in the world of practice, where I help brands, leaders, managers, organizations, institutions, entity, artists, politicians leverage the power of culture to get people to move. And I do that as an entrepreneur because I believe that the more we understand culture, the better we understand it, not only will we be better as practitioners, but perhaps more importantly, we be better as a society.
Yeah, I agree. And in full disclosure, my entrepreneurial journey started as a pre-med major in college, and clearly I'm not a doctor. So I,
Yet,
I
not a doctor yet.
yeah, well, I don't. I think that ship has sailed for me personally. I don't think I'm going to go down that path. But
Fair enough.
I get that, and that's great stuff. And I think it's so interesting how everybody's journey started. And I'm curious for you. Did you have anybody in your life that you watched growing up, for example, that was an entrepreneur, or are you more or less a first generation entrepreneur in your family?
Now, my father was an entrepreneur. He's still living? He's with us, which is a blessing. But my father's an entrepreneur, and it's interesting. So my father, entrepreneurial venture. He never finished college. He did. He got his associate's degree um, from the rural South of Arkansas. Moved to Detroit to pursue opportunities that weren't really available for him in the 1950s in Arkansas. Saw automotive as a vehicle for him to achieve some sense of prosperity. Used to work for Ford. Ended up leaving there. Took the money that he was saving and invested into an entrepreneurial venture where he became a partner, co-owner, and he spent his life doing that. The majority of his career doing that. We, as his children, worked for him, and along the way, our families somehow or another been associated with this company, the whole nine. And so you got my father taking this less traditional route, where my mother, on the other hand, took probably the most traditional route one could even ever conceive. She was an educator. She was a teacher.
I was gonna guess that, so, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, it doesn't get more sort of prototypical than that. And she spent her entire career in education, particularly in Detroit public schools. And she retired as a principal of a school that she ran. So when I was exploring my career ambitions, I would have my mother telling me, be practical, practical, be practical, right? Look for where there is stability, where there is security, where there is structure. Now, on the other end, now my father never pushed me to be an entrepreneur, but my father always told me that you'll never be great if you don't enjoy it. He's like you got to go to the things where you feel like you have talent, but you also have some pleasure in the work, because you'll never be great if you don't enjoy it. Because at some point you have to fall in love with the pain of hard work,
Right.
and that pain is masked by the enjoyment and the pleasure you have in the field in which you're working. So I found myself at a crossroads in my early years of college, where that I thought that engineering was interesting, but I wasn't terribly interested. And though I would communicate that to my mother, she'd go, "Yeah, whatever." Like, there's stability in this road. My father kind of always in the background, like, I don't know. And when I decided to go into music, much to my mother's chagrin, my father said, "Give it a shot, because you never know."
Right. And it sounds like you've almost, kind of adopted both sides, right? As
That's right.
the educator piece of your life, and then the entrepreneurial piece. So, they've both had an impact there. So,
I'm keeping everybody happy these days.
there you go. Listen, I wanna talk about your book, For the Culture. What was the impetus behind writing that book, initially?
In my scholarly work, I realized a very clear, at least in my view, a very clear truth, and is that there is no external force more influential to human behavior than culture, full stop. And I'd say that out loud, and people would nod their head like, "Yeah, totally, absolutely." But if you ask 5 people to define culture, you get 55 different answers, and that's a problem.
Mm.
Because if we can't define a thing concretely, how do we ever fully harness its power, right? If we don't have the best language to describe a thing, it makes it almost impossible for us to engage in a thing fully. So I realized that while in my scholarly work, this thing has become so salient to me in my worldview, the impact and influence of culture, but it also became very apparent that we were missing a Rosetta Stone that were preventing us from tapping into it. At the time, I was just a full blooded marketer. So I'm thinking about this from a marketing perspective that, oh,
Right.
as marketers, our job is to get people to move, right? We go to marketing to get people to adopt behavior. Buy this, vote for him, download that, watch this, attend this, subscribe to this. Right? Everything we do is in the service of behavioral adoption. Therefore, culture is the biggest cheat code for marketers, full stop. But I also realize that there are managers who try to get their employees to move. There are politicians that try to get voters to move. There are environmentalists that try to get people to recycle. Like we're in so many of us, we are in the practice of getting people to adopt behavior, and we're missing the biggest cheat code. So I thought to myself, this might be a worthwhile book to help people get people to move.
Amazing. So what has been the most surprising thing in your view since releasing the book? What surprised you the most?
I'm so glad you asked that question. Um, so the paperback version of the book comes out this fall, and I ended up writing a new chapter that answers that exact question. And I sort of give you the cliff notes of it. I realized um, that the thing that's pulling us apart in a world that feels divisive, that feels full of conflict, is actually the thing that can bring us together. We spend so much time talking about the culture wars or them and us, the in group and the out group. And so I realized, and I wish I wrote this in the first version, honestly, um, that the world is not objective, it's subjective. Things aren't the way they are the way that we are. It is the way we see the world ultimately informs how the world manifests, which means that your truth is just as valid as my truth, even if they're different, even if they're conflicting. Our truths are equally valid. And so long as your truth doesn't mean my oppression, or my truth doesn't mean your marginalization or eradication, then we can actually work together to benefit from the alchemy of our truths, which ultimately makes up reality. I liken it to watching a basketball game. If you are sitting courtside, you see a different game than someone sitting nosebleed. We're watching the same game, empirically watching the same set of events, but we experience it differently because of our cultural frames by which we translate the world. Therefore, if we are to get the best representation of the game, which is social living, we have to sit in many, 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 many seats. So having perspectives of other people come together helps us benefit from the diversity bonus, the bonus of heterogeneous perspectives to get a clearer picture of the world. And that I think is just it's a it's a fundamental shift to the paradigm of how we think about reality. And therefore, it changes not only the way we work, but the way we work together and the way we cohabitate this this social experiment that we call social living.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So, one of the things I've heard you say along those lines is that culture is the most influential force when it comes to driving human behavior. It's the most influential force. Can you explain what you mean by that and why culture is such a powerful driver?
Absolutely. This culture is the governing operating system for humanity. We often use this phrase sort of colloquially that culture is how we do things around here. And it's true. Emil Durkheim, one of the founding fathers of sociology, talks about culture as a system of conventions and expectations that demarcate who we are and govern what people like us do, right? And it's anchored in our identity, who we are, how we self-identify, right? That's the place that we've carved out in the social world to which we subscribe our personhood. And it's complicated, it's complex, it's contradictory, right? There's individual reference. I'm a professor. There are group references. I'm in a fraternity, Phi Beta Sigma. There are abstract references. I'm a father, right? And these different monikers together, the alchemy of these monikers make up my identity, right? And because of who I am, I see the world a certain way, right? I have a certain set of ideologies and beliefs. That's why for some, a cow is leather. For others, it's a deity. For some, it's dinner. Which one is it? It's all those things, depending on who you are and how you see the world. For some, a rug is decor. For others, it's a souvenir. And for some, it's a place of worship. Which one is it? It's all those things, depending on who you are and how you see the world. That's why if a black cat crosses your path in the United States, we say it's bad luck. In Japan, it's considered good luck. It's both of these things, right? The world is not objective, it's subjective. And because of the way that we make meaning of the world, the way that we see the world and translate the world, we ergo navigate the world accordingly. The artifacts that we don, the behaviors that are normative, the language that we use, right? I talk about it in the book like this, I'm a Collins, and we believe family and church come first. So Sunday mornings, I'm in the church sanctuary. If not, I get a passive aggressive call from my mother in the afternoon. Right? How was your morning, Marcus? So she gets down. Now there are no stone tablets that I sign in blood saying I'm going to church. There are no rules or policies that mandate I go to church, but there are social pressures pushed upon me that signify my membership in this community that we call Collinses. In every identity marker to which we subscribe our personhood, there are a set of expectations, behaviors, artifacts, and language that is acceptable for people like us. And to maintain our status, good standing status in these communities, and to achieve social solidarity, we adhere to those things. Like I think about it as a rubric. I am a, we believe this, therefore I. I am a Collins. We believe family church come first. Therefore, Sunday mornings, I'm in the church sanctuary, right? It's just what we do. And every identity marker that we use, we abide by this thing. It's like that saying in philosophy, I think, therefore I am. In this case, is I am, therefore I do. That's the power of culture. It moves us, it pushes us, it guides us to make decisions, whether we're aware of it or not. And culture, it moves forward on the basis of one question. Do people like me do something like this? If the answer is yes, we do it. The answer is no, we don't, which makes it this unbelievable invisible hand that guides everything that we do.
Imagine a relationship where financial conversations don't feel stressful, but actually bring you joy. We've designed a guide to help you have positive, meaningful money conversations with your partner. This isn't just another budgeting tool, it's a roadmap for building trust and connection. So if you're ready to start a joyful money journey with your partner, go to mitlin.us/couplesjoy and download your free guide. Transform your financial future together starting today. So I think this brings up an important point because we have a lot of entrepreneurs that listen to this show, right? And I think, like you've talked about, culture is so important. So, how can entrepreneurs create a culturally contagious idea, within the framework of their business, their practice, whatever their business is, so to speak?
Yeah. So there are a few things to keep in mind. The first thing to think in mind is how you think about who you are. In most cases, like most corporations, most entrepreneurs think about what they do and not why they do it. In the words of Simon Sinek, they think about sort of what they produce, what they make, what they create, what they put in the world, as opposed to the ideologies and beliefs that inform that work. What do you believe? How do you see the world? And that is critical because that sort of North Star not only guides the products that you create and how you operate as an organization, but it also informs who you target. Now, we typically think about targeting with regards to product market fit. I have a shampoo with body. People are looking for more body in their hair, whatever that means.
Right.
So I'm going to target those people because there is a product need. There's a need for the value propositions. Now, the truth of the matter is that value propositions are not as compelling as we think they are. And if we're really being honest, and this might be a hard pill to swallow. For most people, most products are just a parody. They're not that different. They're just different shades of gray.
Hmm.
People can't really tell the difference between one product or the other. That's why, we'll spend $1 for one bottle of water, spend $4 for another bottle of water, and it's all two hydrogens and oxygen, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's about the way things resonate in our hearts and in our minds, right? It's the way things are evoked in our cognitions and affects. And when a organization, an entity, an entrepreneur, a brand has a very clear point of view about the world, an ideology about the world, when they say it out loud, people who believe the same things are evoked. They go, whoa, wow, wow. I never heard it like that before. And I agree with it. And those people consume not because of what you are, but because of who they are. They consume as a way to make their culture, their identity material. Case in point, I do this example in my class, one of my classes with MBA students. I put a slide on the board on the screen, and I have 3 fleece jackets, black fleece, zipped up fleece jackets, and I cover the logo. And I say, these are 3 different fleece jackets from 3 different brands. Name the brands. And 100% of the time, they always name them wrong. 100% of the time. And the irony is that sometimes they're in the class actually wearing one of the fleece jackets that are on the screen. I go, who do these belong to? And they can't name it. But as soon as I put the logo there, they go, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And that says that, again, parity in product, but we pay a premium for a Patagonia fleece versus maybe a North Face fleece. Why? Because Patagonia stands in for the idea of mitigating our impact on the environment. Its ideologies is more than just its jacket. It's how it sees the world. And people who see the world similarly go, I'm a Patagonia girl or Patagonia guy. So therefore, I pay a premium so that the brand's belief in my identity project are congruent. I pay a premium for that very thing. Patagonia's jackets aren't warmer than Columbia's. Patagonia's jacket don't absorb more heat than North Face. It's not about the function. It's about its emotive properties based on shared ideologies. So entrepreneurs who want to navigate the cultural zeitgeist in a meaningful way have to first start with, who am I? How do I see the world? This thing that I've created. I could have created so many other things. Why this beyond the functionality? Who sees the world the way I do? That's your collective of the willing, the people that's most likely to move. And when you activate them, something magical happens. Then not only do they consume, but they use your brand to communicate their identity, and then they share with people who are just like them. And then they share with people who are just like them, and so on and so on and so on. You get the network effect. That doesn't happen because of value propositions. That happens because of identity congruence, which is culturally mediated.
Now, does that work the same way for leaders in their organizations and the people that they work with? Is that a similar kind of process in a similar manner and way that you have to start with that why and take that same approach that you would take with the end consumer? Does that work almost the same way, or is that different?
1,000,000%. When you hear a leader talk about not what they do, but why they do it, people feel inspired. They go, wow, like that really touched me. It evoked something in my heart and in my mind. And you go, I'm gonna follow that woman because I believe. And because I believe, I therefore follow suit. I think about the JFK story. The JFK was on a stage of action. He could do so many things as the president, the leader of the free world, right? This country that believes in freedom and liberty, exploration, and doing things to the highest fidelity possible. And he says, of all things that we could do, we choose to go to the moon. That's where we're gonna put our efforts, go to the moon. And as the story goes, as lore would have it, he visits a NASA station and he sees a janitor sweeping. And he says, hello, sir. And janitor goes, oh, Mr. President. And JFK goes, what are you doing? And he says, I'm putting a man on the moon, sir. Sweeping the floor.
No.
This is the lowest person on the social hierarchy of the organization. Not only that person knows what he does, right? What he does is not just pushing a broom to move the dirt, but he is contributing to the vision of the place, and he is inspired to do that very thing. That's the power of ideology. That's the power of belief. It acts as a North Star by which people are invited to be a part of it, in which people are invited to contribute to this ambition that they share. They're not just in a transactional relationship where I give you my time and you give me money. Say, no, no, no. We're on a mission to do something. And as I think about my career working with Beyoncé and her father, Matthew Knowles, working with Steve Stout, two entrepreneurs, like, I bought into their vision and I was in it because I believed. There's the brick layers parable as it's known. Someone laying bricks on the side of the road, you go, what are you doing? Well, I'm laying bricks. Well, I have a job. See someone laying bricks on the side of the road, you go, what are you doing? And you go, I'm building a church. That person has a career. If you see someone laying bricks on the side of the road, you go, what in the world are you doing? They say, I'm building the house of God. That person has a calling.
Right.
Which one's most excited about going to work? The
Sure.
one with the calling, the one with the belief and ideology. And leaders who are able to preach that gospel, people go, yes, count me in. And let me go get other people who believe what we believe as well. What we're talking about here isn't context bound. This is the underlying physics of humanity and our ability to activate it, to catalyze it, to inspire it, creates this reverberation that not only propagates through the population, but it gets people to move in a synchronous fashion.
Yeah, I agree, and I would imagine, based upon what you said earlier, right? Your own bio ends with the line, but most importantly, I'm Alex's husband and Georgia and Ivy's father, and I
Mhm.
would imagine that is your version of your why, and you're basically putting that out there so people understand. At the end of the day, if you have a decision to make and it's between them and the family, you're probably going with that why, which is Alex and Georgia and Ivy, right?
That's right. I mean, I'm a servant. That's what I believe. I believe that we're all put on this earth to serve. In my view, put on this earth to serve. We serve to serve each other and serve God. In fact, I'd argue say that we serve God by the way that we serve each other, right? Just my own view.
Hmm.
So everything I do is in the service of service. I just so happen to serve in classrooms and on stages and in pros or on podcasts.
Hmm.
But that service uh, is in service of the people. And the most important people for me is Alex, Georgia, and Ivy. So that's where my service begins. And therefore, it's like, hey, letting you know that I do all of this, but the most important part are these humans for whom I serve.
Yeah. Hey, listen, we're completely aligned. I mean, we don't even call the families that we work with, we don't even call them clients. We call them the families we serve. That's
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 right.
how we that's how we refer to them. And one of our core values, which is not just a core value slapped on a wall, it's something we talk about very often every week, is client equals family equals team.
Hmm.
And we believe that our team is family, our clients are family, everybody's one family. And we always talk about one aspect that's happened over the week that represents those core values, and a lot of times it's within that client equals family equals team scenario. So I can't agree with you more that that is such a powerful thing to help a business grow, intentionally, and help the organization from the inside, have people who are willing, interested, and committed to helping those families you serve do that when they're feeling the same way that they do. So it's vital.
I mean, there's something humanizing about that. Something as what maybe seemingly trivial completely reframes how we how we perceive people. When we think about people not as clients, not as customers, not as employees, but as humans, our humanity just kicks in.
Yeah.
I when I work with brand clients or brand partners, I would hear them say, like, we gotta get out to our audience. And I go, who's an audience? Like, the only audiences I know are at movie theaters and concerts, or maybe the television, right? Like, they're waiting for messages to wave over them. But the people we're engaging, they are not passive at all. They're extremely active, navigating a world where everything's trying to get their attention while they're trying to get things done in their life. They are extremely active. These aren't audiences, these are social actors. They are cultural beasts that are navigating the world trying to realize the reality that is being framed in their mind because of their cultural lenses. So if we stop looking at consumers as these machines who eat messages and crap cash and think of them as like real life human beings, our engagement with them becomes much more humane. And when that happens, people feel seen, people feel heard, people feel like they matter, and they help lubricate the social bonds or the dyadic ties that connect us, that we call relationships, that we call colleagues, friendships, and dare I say, clients.
Yeah, amazing. So, those who are listening to this show and follow us both may have figured out by now we're actually both represented by Leverage with Media PR, which is owned by Lauren Cabello, who actually was my guest on episode 169. And I've watched your presence on camera continuing to evolve and improve. And same thing has happened with me as well over time. What tips do you have for others who want to put their voice out there, get opportunities to go out there? What tips and advice do you have for them?
The first, I think, is you got to find your voice. You can't outdo. If you want to be a Adam Grant, Adam Grant's going to always be a better Adam Grant than you will be. So trying to duplicate someone, I think, is a folly. Instead, find your voice. Like, and by that I mean, it's like, how do you say things in real life? Like, as opposed to trying to sound professional, as opposed to trying to be a thing, how do you say it? And for me, that was a major breakthrough as a speaker, as a I guess a public voice, if you will. That I spent my so much of my professional career trying to sound like a business person, trying to have the right business vernacular, trying to talk with the vocal fry, so it sounded like everything had a question mark at the end of it. Like I didn't talk like that, and I just started to say, you know what? I'm just going to be Marcus. There are a thousand other people, but there's only one me, so I'm going to try to be me. So that was the first thing, is to sort of be yourself. And then you got to do reps. You got to just do it a lot. Kobe Bryant once said, he would shoot 1,000 shots after practice, 1,000 shots after practice, just to get good. And the same thing goes here, that if you want to play an instrument, you got to shed wood. You got to go do the work, more reps to do a thing. So first, how do I speak? Not how do I try to speak, but just how do I speak? Secondly, workshop some things. And then, this is the scariest part, you got to put yourself out there,
Right.
and almost accept the fact that when you first do it, you're going to suck. You're going to suck. It's not
Hmm.
going to be great.
Yeah.
Someone told me that the first time I made my first piece of like video content. He said to me, once you get over the fact that you're going to hate this thing in a year from now, you'll be fine. But you just got to get on first base.
And then I would argue, even when you're feeling good about it, go a year later, and what you thought was good was still terrible. But that's good, because that just
That's
means
right.
you're getting better and learning and improving the whole way. We bring up videos that I shot like 8 years ago, and it's like, oh my god, I can't believe I put that out there. But listen, as long as you're seeing that improvement, and 8 years later it doesn't look the same, then you're
That's
you're
right.
doing you're doing what you should be doing. So listen, Marcus, it's been great having you on. And in the words of your dad, you have to find something you enjoy, right? And we're all about joy here on the Mitlin Money Mindset. So we always ask each of our guests the final question, the same final question, I should say, which is, what did you do today that brought you joy and put you in the right mindset for success?
Oh, the thing I did today that brought joy to me, I responded to an email that's been sitting in my email box for like 7 months. And I knew it was there, and I was just so embarrassed and mortified by the fact the latency was so long that I just ignoring it, just wasn't doing. And that's like, you know what? I'm going to have to respond. I just got to do it. I just got to bite the bullet. And when I did it, I got a response right away. It was like, man, I totally forgot that I emailed you in the first place. It's all good. And it's like, oh, wow. Like it brought me joy because I realized that we have anxiety about things. We worry about things that 98% of the time, unscientific number, by the way, but 98% of the time never comes to bear anyway. So it's like, sometimes you just got to do the thing. So it felt good. It felt like a weight lifted off my shoulder that I didn't even know really existed, even though I'd been sitting there for 7 months or so.
So you enjoyed eating the frog this morning, as they say.
Yeah. That's right.
Well, listen, Marcus, we're going to have all of your information in the show notes so people can learn more about you and connect with you. But if they want to do that, what's the easiest and the best place for them to do that?
I say LinkedIn or Instagram is probably the quickest. But if you reach out to me via my website, marktothesea.com, I'll respond to you very quickly. It won't be 7 months.
There you go. All right, and make sure everybody you take a look. His second edition of his book in a paperback is going to be releasing September 10th, or released on September 10th. So take a look for that, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. And be sure to follow Marcus and everything he is up to. And I think there's a lot to learn there. So I thank you, Marcus, for taking the time for having this conversation today, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Appreciate you a ton. Same to you.
I want to thank Dr. Marcus Collins for being a guest on the Mitlin Money Mindset. Marcus understands the importance of culture and how it is truly king. He has helped countless organizations create, adopt, and foster a culture that is contagious. Marcus helps create culturally contagious ideas that helps businesses and entrepreneurs flourish. Dr. Marcus Collins and all he's up to can be found across most social media platforms. All the contact information needed to find him can be found in the show notes.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Mitlin Money Mindset. Remember, it's not just about the money, it's finding joy in the journey and embracing the right mindset. If you love the show, be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Don't forget to follow along for more tips and inspiration. Please visit the social links below to connect with Larry or his guests. Until next time, keep smiling, keep thriving, and remember to think about, what did you do today that brought you joy?
The opinions voiced in the Mitlin Money Mindset Show with Lawrence Sprung are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. Investing involves risk, including possible loss of principal. No strategy ensures success or protects against loss. To determine what may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, financial or tax advisor prior to investing. Investment advisory services offered through CWM LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Guests on the Mitlin Money Mindset Show are not affiliated with CWM LLC.